Hello, so welcome to lesson 2 about persuasive features. We are going to have a look today at applying the persuasive features to our writing. So last lesson we went through and we had a look at what the deforest features were, and we had a go at finding them in a piece of writing and explaining the effects created. Now, today what I'd like to do with you are the following things. So for bronze learning objective, we are going to record what those persuasive techniques are. We need to keep revising them so we're really confident on them. For silver, you're going to be able to examine a little bit more closely and specifically the effects created, because we've made some progress on that. You've been able to make a few comments on the effects created, but let's see if we can get a little bit more specific. And then for gold, you are going to apply the persuasive techniques to your own writing. So hopefully that's what we are going to have achieved by the end of this lesson. Okay, so as with the last lesson, I thought it's quite a good idea to just remind you of what the deforest techniques are. I'm not going to go too far with this because we've already done this, but here is a little reminder of what all of these different techniques actually do, or what they are, what they look like. So for example, direct address, using the word you, we or are, anecdote, short personal story, etc. So you can pause the video and read them through just to remind yourself if you need to before we move on to the next task. But I will be keeping a reminder of the deforest features on the screen for you throughout to help you through the rest of the video. So last lesson we looked at an example from an advert for an animal charity, and it was using persuasive devices in a very particular way to make you feel quite sad and quite empathetic towards the animals. Now in this case we're looking at an example from a holiday advertisement, so the tone is quite different and the effects created by this again are very different. They're trying to achieve a different goal. So having a look at this example here, as I said, from a holiday brochure, an advertisement, it says, have you ever wanted to escape to an oasis of calm? Have you ever wanted to take a break from the loud noises of the city? Have you ever wanted to relax in a tropical retreat? Okay, so what I think would be a good thing to practice, if you pause the video here, have a little look through that, keep it on the screen, and see if you can identify what techniques have been used there. I am going to tell you the answers in a minute, but have a little practice and see if you can jot down what you think they are. Okay, so hopefully you had a pause there and had a little go. So let's just go through what this example has got. So first of all, we've got some direct address here. And we can see that in the words you. There we go, there they are. Okay, and what I want you to get into the habit of asking yourself when you're looking at a piece of persuasive writing is why. So what have those techniques actually done? Why have they been put there? Yes, we could say that it makes the reader think that the advert's talking directly to them, but actually we could say that about any time writers use the word you in a piece of persuasive writing. So try and have a think about what it's doing in this particular case. We are going to be looking at that in a minute, but see if you can form some of your own ideas first. Having a look at this poster here, it's a very famous poster from World War I. We can see that this is a technique that's been used for years and years, rightly so, because it's very effective. So we can actually see that technique being used here, not only in the gigantic letters U, but we can also see the way that Lord Kitchener here is pointing directly at you and his eyes sort of follow you around the room. So that is actually one of the effects that direct address can have on the reader. You do kind of feel like you're, who, me? Yes, you, you do feel like it is directed at you. Now, the next technique in here that we can see is a bit of repetition. Have you ever? Have you ever? Have you ever? We actually have you ever wanted as the whole thing there. And again, why? Just think about that as we go through the rest of these. Okay, next we have got a rhetorical question. 3, in fact. The whole thing is made up of rhetorical questions. Have you ever wanted to escape to an oasis of calm? Again, a rhetorical question, just as a reminder, is a question that doesn't expect or require an answer. So have a little bit of a think about why you think it has been used in this particular case. Why is this a persuasive thing to write in an advert for a holiday? And then finally, we have got a triple. Again, the whole thing is a triple. There's the first one, there's the second one, and there's the third one. So it's 3 different sort of suggestions it's making about that holiday. And again, why do you think the writer has done this? What is the specific effect created by this triple? So what we want to ask ourselves is why the writer uses these techniques and what is the effect that's created by them. I'm actually going to give you a demo of how we can analyse those specific techniques, trying to be really specific about the effects created in this case. So let's have a little look at that sort of sample of text one more time before we get started. Have you ever wanted to escape to an oasis of calm? Have you ever wanted to take a break from the loud noises of the city? Have you ever wanted to relax in a tropical retreat? So we've already identified that we have direct address, repetition, rhetorical questions, and a triple as well. So let's have a look at them one by one. We'll start with direct address. So when I was looking at this particular example of direct address, this is what I had to say about it. The direct address makes the reader picture themselves in this lovely place. They have to pay attention as this advert is not just for anyone. It feels like it's personally inviting them to attend the retreat. So we've talked in there about the fact that direct address is very personal to the reader of the advert, but we've been a little bit specific here about the fact that it's in an advert for a holiday. So we've said it's personally inviting them to attend the retreat. And this is the key to analysing persuasive language, thinking about the effect that this example is having rather than just talking generally about direct address, for example. Okay, let's move on to the next one now, which is the repetition. So, this is what I had to say about the repetition in this particular case. I said the repetition makes this advert memorable, so the reader is more likely to continue to think about it when they finished reading it. This is a technique that adverts use quite a lot. Sometimes this is enhanced by little jingles and things like that, but generally speaking, they do try to make it memorable and so that it subconsciously remains in your mind after you have finished looking at an advert or reading it. So that, I think, is what this is doing, because it really wants you to pay for this holiday. So moving on to the rhetorical question now, and there are 3 of them here in this case. I've kind of grouped them together and spoken about them as a whole here. I've said the rhetorical questions may be rhetorical meaning, of course, not expecting or requiring an answer to the question. But I've said, but the answers are obviously yes. These are questions that anyone can relate to, as everyone wants to relax. So it's asked these questions because it knows that you basically can't say no to these, to be honest with you. And then we've got, finally, the triples here. So I've said the triple introduces 3 different yet equally inviting ideas. This means that if the first idea, oasis of calm, doesn't appeal to the reader, one of the other 2 points might, such as the idea of getting away. I mean, we could argue that not very many people are not going to like the idea of an oasis of calm, but actually they're 3 different ideas and all 3 of them are ever so slightly different. They're all about relaxation, but they're all going to appeal to perhaps a slightly different person to want to go to that lovely hotel. Okay, so now it's your turn to put what you've learned into practice. So you're going to do 2 different tasks on these examples here. So what I've done is I've taken 4 samples of text from the same advertisement, and you are going to pick them apart one by one and examine what the persuasive features are that have been used there, and also what the effects are that are created by them. So let's read them through together just to get started. So the first one we have, at our gorgeous Caribbean getaway, you'll be amazed by all the relaxing experiences we have to offer. Number 2, we have over 100 trained massage therapists on site, ready to get the knots and tension out of your tired muscles. What's not to love? Number 3, all of our scrumptious food and drinks are made lovingly to order from fresh local ingredients. And then finally, join our 1 million satisfied customers, 98% of whom have rated us 5 stars, and book your holiday today. So, the first thing that you're going to do on the Google form that's been uploaded to Google Classroom is you're going to go through each one and identify the persuasive techniques that have been used in each of these examples. Now, bear in mind that for each one, there's not necessarily just going to be one technique that's been used. So I'd like you to practice going through and seeing all of the different techniques you can spot in each one of those examples. Task 2 is on a Google Doc. And what you're going to do is, again, work through each of those examples after getting your feedback from the Google form and explain what the effect is on the reader. So how each example persuades the reader to visit the retreat. And there are some questions on there to guide you with this as well. After you finish this, you are going to be doing task number 3, which is on the same Google Doc, and you're going to apply the persuasive features to your own writing to show that you understand them and that you can try to use them in your own writing. So after tasks 1 and 2, I'd like you to add 2 to 3 of your own paragraphs to try and persuade the reader to visit a hotel in a tropical setting. So it's totally up to you what you include, but I do have some suggestions that I've included in the Google Doc to help you, such as perhaps writing about the swimming pools or perhaps writing about the rooms and what they're like. And I'd like you to use the success criteria to guide you with this task. So try and do the following things when you're writing. First of all, the whole point of this is showcasing that you can use those persuasive features yourself, so I'd like you to try and include a good range of them when you're writing. Secondly, I'd like you to focus on the accuracy of your writing overall, so this means being very careful with your punctuation and your spelling, and it's always worth having a moment at the end when you've finished your writing just to double check, because it's very easy to make silly little mistakes and then you can spot them perhaps straight away when you look through. I did, for example, when I was making this PowerPoint slide. Okay, so the next thing is to give a really good range of detail and description. Really try and describe this gorgeous place that you want your readers to visit. Give loads of good details. And then finally, this is a really important thing to do as well. Choose your vocabulary very carefully to try and make it sound amazing. So what you can do is perhaps write it first, then go through and look at those individual word choices that you think you can make just a little bit better. See if you know any words anyway that you could substitute for what you've included. However, you can use an online thesaurus, a dictionary, to help you to find words that you might never have even thought of in the first place, but we want to make it sound amazing. So once you've done that, then is the chance for you to take a step back, have a look and practice that proofreading of your work. So what I'd like you to do is have a look at the success criteria that you used when you were writing your persuasive paragraphs and see how well you think you've achieved those different things, each of the bullet points. So I'd like you to give yourself an overall what went well and even better if based on the success criteria. So for example, you might think that you have used a really good range of persuasive features. That's something you're very proud of and you think that it's been very effective on your work. But you might feel that actually, next time you'd quite like to give a little bit more detail and maybe use a better range of adjectives to describe your hotel. So that would be an EBI that you might put for yourself. I wanted to take this opportunity to show you that actually proofreading is super important. I actually made a mistake here, and rather than taking it out, I thought I'd leave it in just to show you how important it can be so that you don't make mistakes like that. Then, after you've done that, what you can do is colour code your work to show me and yourself where you have used those different persuasive features in your writing. Now, it's absolutely fine for you to use your own key, your own colour coordination, but you can use my one if you prefer, the one that I've been using throughout. Now, for some of you, you are going to want to push yourself just a little bit further and challenge yourself a little bit more. And if that's you, congratulations for even thinking about it. What I'd like you to do is have a look at every feature that you've used in your writing, each persuasive technique you've used, and explain the effect that you intended to create when you used it. And then you can evaluate, so how effective do you think each of your persuasive techniques have been? A little bit of metacognition for you there. Okay, so good luck with that task. I hope you get on well, and I look forward to seeing what you come up with. So I'll see you in a week's time for lesson 3. Take care. Bye bye.